Hi, my name is Stella Monica Mpande. I am currently a doctoral student at Howard University, and I am taking a course in Network Communities and International Politics in Georgetown University, taught by Professor Irene Wu. So, my paper was basically an opportunity for me to learn more about how the use of social media by the Ugandan government and by the Ugandan diaspora has been used to motivate the Ugandan diaspora to learn about their culture and invest in their home country's national development from a more financial and economic perspective as well. Now, this is a large body of work that will extend into different forms of national development, but for the purpose of our research study today, I focused on phase one and phase two, which was the development of an inventory through a textual analysis of these specific websites to sort of examine where the government was and where the Ugandan diaspora was in their attempts to A, communicate with each other if that was possible, and B, to know what their individual visions were in terms of national development. And so I make a lot of references to our course readings, our scholars, various theoreticians within the readings that we have had in our course, more specifically in my discussion of my findings, to further explain why it is that the situations perhaps were the way they were and what can be done to improve and move forward. I'll become more specific. In my introduction, I let my audience know that the Ugandan diaspora in Uganda was roughly about 2.2%, about 220,000 of the population that had been living overseas in 2009 that were contributing to the FDI and various um, sectors and forms of development in the country. As of 2011, $750 million worth of remittances had been sent by the Ugandan diaspora to the country. And although some scholars debate on whether remittances have a large macro level of impact on the economy as opposed to its more micro level because remittances are more constrained to household expenditures of individual families. It still indicates that there is an attitude and there is an inclination, a desire to want to contribute to the development of people back home and ultimately the country. So that was a very important part to take note. It was also noted the Ugandan government recognized that. And so, really, even though specific diaspora offices were being created in the government as of 2007, there has certainly been a stronger increase in mobilizing this as a vision for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other areas of government as of 2012. So I also introduced my audience members to the concept of cultural capital. Cultural capital was the concept that was introduced by Pierre Bourdieu to recognize culture as actually serving as an asset through its three main forms: as embodied through knowledge, competencies, and skills; through objective, whether it's through a tangible artifact or through institutionalized forms of capital, through degrees, certificates that were part of education or professional institutions. I apply cultural capital to the Ugandan diaspora, whom Deutsch refers to as leading social groups, to emphasize that these people have acquired the knowledge, the skills, and various aptitudes in their host countries that could be ultimately applied to their home countries to further develop the country. And lastly, I make reference to how social media in Uganda has really grown and changed the country in various ways. Social media use has been accounted for by the fact that Uganda ranked number 8th in Africa as being the largest internet user, and how also social media has been used to mobilize political engagement as well as to educate citizens on HIV and AIDS. So there is a promise of how social media could be used. I developed an inventory. I conducted a textual analysis of 6 websites by the Ugandan government, as well as 5 websites by the Ugandan diaspora, and I created a coding sheet to further determine how it is and what it is these websites were conveying to the Ugandan diaspora were messages specifying the qualifications that were needed to develop the country. Were specific sectors identified as what needed to be developed? Were there opportunities for them to contact specific people about what to do in terms of development? Were their websites having enough information to explain to the diaspora what the next steps of action were and how they could learn about their culture and therefore foster a stronger identity? These were all part of the categories of my coding sheet. And in my findings and discussion, I really emphasize a lot of our course scholars from the various readings that we've had. And one of the primary points that I found amongst the findings was that there needed to be a greater alliance, strategic alliance, and a greater sense of network between the government and the diaspora, whose efforts seemed to be almost independent of each other, and they were operating in silos. Putnam refers to the bonding social capital that exists in homogeneous networks, as opposed to the bridging of social capital, which allows various networks to exchange information as resources, which Branham actually identifies as well. And Deutsch refers to the diaspora as Deutsch refers to specific people in society serving as leading social groups. And I emphasize in my discussion that the diaspora serve as social leading groups in that regard, especially if they contain and possess information that serves as resources and as agents. And so social media use should be catered towards that effort as a marketing tool that allows different groups to, you know, market each other, promote each other's groups as being, this alliance system that, allows different efforts to be recognized. And also the social media platforms to be more explicit in their directives so that people have a greater, clearer communication that instructs them as to what to do and how to go from A to B. My findings and my discussion in my paper also highlight there needs to be a stronger cultural development nexus. In our readings, we had seen that different governments had different perspectives of nationalism. Some focused on the military for political means, some focused on economic, using technology to specify what their economic demands were with the technocrats and so on and so forth. And some really looked at the civil affairs and the cultural development, cultural identity. And it was interesting to note that Ugandan diaspora seemed to be more focused on developing their cultural identity and using that as a means to fund cultural projects, whereby the Ugandan government was focusing more on the development of the economic sector and how, jobs could be created, entrepreneurial efforts could be supported, so on and so forth. And there was less on their part about fostering a cultural identity and a cultural knowledge hub. And so I also lastly make reference to the need for there to also be um, a stronger trust and network system as well that can allow the Ugandan government to take advantage of the different groups from the diaspora that have already been formed so that there's a greater sense of network power that allows people to trust a community that already exists, um, find more value in it as more people join that community, and allowing the power to increase in that way and fostering a sense of cooperation that allows these people in the community to feel that they all share a vision and a common goal. Because our readings had shown us that people that came with different motives also had an ability to destroy a network, if you will. I explain all this further in my paper. I look forward to your commentary and to your feedback, and I thank you for your time. Thank you. Bye.